Imagine this. You're a waitress. You make a base salary of $3.50 an hour and depend on tips for income. Tips are great, aren't they? You share them with your coworkers in many places. And after all is said and done, you average about $9 an hour before taxes. It's a situation many Americans find themselves in the working place in the country. And anyone who's spent time at all in the food service industry has a story or two over the years to tell about being stiffed on a tip. This story might make you lose a little bit of faith. Earlier this week, Chelsea Welch, an Applebees employee, took to social media site Reddit to share a photo of a receipt left by a St. Louis pastor, Alois. According to Welch, the worker, the pastor and her party of, I should say, 20 ran up more than $200 worth of food, but weren't feeling so charitable when it came time to pay. The pastor crossed out the automatic 18% gratuity charge for groups larger than 8 and wrote, "I give God 10%. Why do you get 18? To emphasize her point, a big zero and pastor above the signature. The post immediately went viral online, which is when Welch says Pastor Bell called her Applebee's employer and demanded everyone working there that night be fired. As a result, Chelsea Welch, she was laid off. She was laid off. In a statement by Applebee's, they said, "Our guests' personal information, including their meal check, is private, and neither Applebee's nor its franchises have a right to share this information publicly. We value our guests' trust above all else." As Welch told The Consumerist, Applebee's made it clear that they would rather lose a dedicated employee than lose an angry customer. As for Pastor Bell, she claims to have left money on the table and is calling the whole thing a lapse in judgment that has just been blown out of proportion. I'd like to think the good pastor has learned her lesson at this point, but it's worth remembering the following tip from the good book. It's called The Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would want to have them do unto you. And if you don't want to pay your waiter or waitress a tip, then don't go out to eat. These people work really, really hard to get stiffed at any job, any day in the service industry. Tonight in our survey, I asked, do Republicans want a defense secretary who would lead us into more wars? 97% of you said yes, 3% of you said no.